couldn't agree with you more. You'd be a fool to sell your soul if the dollar was increasing. But this has nothing to do with selling your soul. I mean, if you look at it that way, okay.
Yeah,
but
depends on how you look at it.
Sure.
You insult my intelligence when they, not only they insult me, period. If they think I would tell them anything.
But it would be good, and I think in many ways it might be of some benefit to your organization. You know, if in fact we can eliminate people.
There's no government agency that can ever expect any information out of me that's in any way detrimental to any religious group or black group, for that matter, in this country. No government agency.
That's fine.
Because they should use that same energy to go and find who bombed that church down there in Alabama.
Well,
and if these government agencies spend as much money and time and energy.
You know what somebody in the South is saying today? Few people would go up north, investigate the Muslims with the same energy you're trying to find this bomb here.
The Muslims don't bomb churches.
I know they say that.
But still, the Muslims don't bomb churches. No, if we broke laws, they'd have us in jail tomorrow.
Now, that obviously is an audio recording. We didn't have picture available of that interview, so we had to supply some artistic renderings that were done by our graphics artist, Delambe Brass, and also we supplied some photographs, interwove some photographs into that, supplied to us by Robert L. Haggins. Now, it just so happens that we have the FBI report that on that interview, the agent's report of that February 4th, 1964 interview that you just heard. And that report to the head office says, the New York office does not contemplate any additional contact with Little at this time, as there appears to be no benefit to be derived therefrom. Now, despite the turndown, the FBI continued, undaunted, in their constant surveillance of Malcolm and the growing animosity towards him on the part of some members of the black Muslims. By the middle of 1964, the FBI was issuing memos like this, showing their full awareness that Malcolm's life was in serious jeopardy. Quote, in view of recent threats against subject, apparently by Nation of Islam members, the Bureau has requested that local police be advised whenever subject is in their city. Practically every move Malcolm made was being noted by the FBI. Another, subject will definitely not be in Chicago this date, since he is going to Boston and will later be in Washington, D.C. on 6/26/64. Latter two officers advised. And still another memo. Omaha and Chicago should alert police in their cities as to subject's proposed trips. Also remain alert for any incidents between subject and the Nation of Islam. And when he went to Africa later that summer, the FBI received reports of Malcolm's activities over there. This memo reports, quote, Alexandria, Egypt. Malcolm addressed over 800 Muslim students representing 73 African and Asian countries, unquote. We think it important to note the vast sums of American taxpayers' monies that were spent to keep a man under surveillance who was merely fighting for justice for his people. Moreover, there seems a clear question about such intense scrutiny of a man's activities, while at the same time there was such an apparent inability to protect him.
All those kind of how the government really functions, not the spookism, but how it really works. And when we came out of the building that night, we were standing there, me, him, and Brother John, waiting for him to bring his car around. And I told him, I said, man, we're in trouble now. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, you didn't stop talking nonsense and start explaining how it operates. You're not supposed to do that. Because most Americans don't know how this country operates. White or black, they don't have any idea how this country operates. Maybe it will inspire some of these young people to learn about Malcolm, find out what he was trying to do, and to continue to struggle, because that's, in my view, that's the best thing they can do to help themselves in this mess over here, to learn the strict discipline he had, the toughness of mind, not to be taken off by all of the the negative attractiveness of this society. The drugs, this noise that people call disco, and all of the other deceptions that you find in this country. These kids have really got to, the ones that are still capable of doing it, really begin to turn themselves around and look inward for inner strength, because there's nothing outside. Your strength comes from inside, and it comes from understanding who you are and what you're about. Well, Americans, people in this country in general, are known for not knowing very much about the past. They have to understand, especially this young generation, that a lot of these people with their MBAs and their sports cars and their corporate vice presidencies, they have to know that they're not there just because of the way they wear their clothes or the way they part their hair. That somebody paved the way for them to get there, and that they owe some debts, and that they have a responsibility to history to do something else other than just check cashers every week. They have a role to play. They have a people to serve. And unless they do that, as George Santayana said, people who don't understand the lessons of history are doomed to repeat them. It was a chance to really be somebody. This country doesn't allow black males to mature. It allows them to grow up physically, but not to mature mentally, intellectually, or spiritually. And Malcolm gave black men that chance in this country.
My father was killed by the Ku Klux Klan.
Surprising that when the grandchildren of those who were active in the late 60s and early 70s are becoming involved in similar movements today, there is this effort to, again, terrorize young people.
Thank you. I appreciate the platform. My name is Malcolm Shabazz, and I am the grandson, the namesake, and first male heir of a great Muslim revolutionary leader by the name of El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, or more widely known to the masses as Mr. Malcolm X. You know, each man is like a grain of salt towards the building block of civilization. So we shouldn't always focus on what others are or aren't willing to do, but on what we're willing to do. And in the Quran, it states that our Lord is He who gave all things its creation, and then He Himself guided it. And we must also bear in mind, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also states in the Quran that man is made in toil and struggle to struggle. So I never really regret any particular situation or circumstance, but to realize that there were certain obstacles that are placed at certain intervals in my life which should only serve to make us stronger. And I've often found myself in many situations where I ask myself, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this? But today I do have a better understanding of why I personally went through the things that I went through.
And what do you consider to be the most important part of your grandfather's legacy?
For me, I believe that the most important aspect to my grandfather is that he was never set in his ways. You know, he was on a constant search for truth, and he was very sincere. You know, he was an Islamic scholar. He didn't speak fluent Arabic. He wasn't going to break down hadith and start quoting all these things from the Quran, but he affected more change than people who may have studied Islam 20, 30 years or their whole lives. The most important advice I could give to today's youth is not to always react from emotion, you know, because many times we find ourselves in positions where we're quick to react. We get angry or whatever other emotion that we're feeling, and we act on the emotion, and then we might find ourselves in a situation, and I'm speaking for myself, I've been in a situation many times where I might be sitting in a cell, or I might have to suffer some repercussion for something that I did out of anger or out of dealing with my emotions, and then I find myself in a position where I think to myself, man, I could have did this, that, and the third differently, or why did I do that like that, but it's too late. So many times what we need to do when something happens, instead of just being quick to be a reactionary, we need to be more revolutionary. But we need to sit back and let that emotion pass, know what we're feeling, but let it pass. Sometimes you need to sleep on it, wait a day or two, and then see how you feel. Because many times if you let the emotion pass and you sit back and look at it on an analytical level, you won't react in the same manner. So that's very important. That's one of the advices I would give.
How much does she owe in terms of taxes at this stage? She's paid all of her taxes, she just owes penalties and...
Right. From 2004 to 2009, she owes zero.
Right.
For federal and state taxes. She owes additional interest, she owes some civil penalties, but she has fully paid off that entire time period.
So given that, were you disappointed that she got sentenced to any jail at all?
Well, again, when the government's asking for 36 months and the judge gives 3 months, I think the judge gave a fair and reasonable sentence. I think the judge took into account the incredible person that Ms. Hill is, the contribution she's made to society, the fact that she didn't have any criminal record, that she fully accepted responsibility for her actions, pled guilty without a plea agreement, and then fully paid back not just the taxes she owed, but all the taxes that were part of this time period, and did it before sentencing.
Hey everybody, today is May 9th, 2013. Malcolm Shabazz, grandson of Malcolm X, killed in Tijuana. The U.S. Embassy has just confirmed that Malcolm Shabazz, son of Malcolm X, was killed early Thursday morning, May 9th, 2013. He died from injuries sustained after he was thrown off a building as he was being robbed in Tijuana. Amsterdam News reports, I am confirming per U.S. Embassy on behalf of family the tragic death of Malcolm Shabazz, the grandson of Malcolm X. Statement from family to come. Wrote close friend of the Shabazz family, Terry M. Williams, on Twitter. Early reports said he was shot and information is still coming in.
Well, we continue to look at the case of Assata Shakur, a legendary figure within both first the Black Panther Party and then the Black Liberation Army. On Thursday, she became the first woman ever to make the FBI's most wanted terrorist list. In addition, the FBI and the state of New Jersey doubled the reward for her capture to $2 million.
It was wonderful that you allowed people through this program to hear Assata's words, because 40 years later, people really don't know the details of the case and are not aware of the extent to which she was targeted by the FBI, by the COINTEL program, as Lennox pointed out. And it's amazing that in 2013, where she is living in Cuba as a political refugee, having been given political asylum by Cuba, she is still pursued. And actually, this is an invitation for anyone to travel to Cuba illegally and to kidnap her and bring her back to the United States, if not shoot her dead. This is as I said, was an extremely shocking revelation.
And Angela Davis, the government's statement that she remains a threat to the United States, the implication being that she's somehow still trying to organize attacks on the country. It really is mind-boggling. It's one thing to say we have a case here of someone who's still wanted. It's another thing to say that they're still a threat to the United States when there's been no indication over the last 30, 40 years that Assata Shakur has been involved in any type of movements or organizations directed against the United States government.
Well, see, there's always this slippage between what should be protected free speech, that is to say, the advocacy of revolution, the advocacy of radical change, and what the FBI represents as terrorism. You know, certainly Assata continues to advocate radical transformation of this country, as many of us do. You know, I continue to say that we need revolutionary change. This is why it seems to me that the attack on her reflects the logic of terrorism, because it precisely...
Professor Angela Davis admitted that she is a member of the Communist Party.
Who put her on the top 10? everybody had a file on her.
Her first lecture drew 2,000 students.
Angela's education is now being put into practice.
Angela Davis purchased 4 guns.